Welcome to CivilNet. We have a very special guest here in our studio. His name is Raffi Meneshian. He is, among being a music enthusiast, he is the founder of Pomegranate Music, an independent record label. Raffi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Maria. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. You've been here now for just over 2 months, I believe, in Armenia.
Correct.
Before we talk about your record label, tell us what you've been doing here.
Yes, I came to Armenia for the second time this year with a specific purpose this time to produce 3 very unique Armenian albums. 2 of them are duduk albums with a little bit of a twist. And the third one is a singer and multi-instrumentalist, of which many Armenians have never heard of. Part of the kind of concept of the label and the approach that we take is we want to take things that are unique and present them to the world and present them as products of Armenia. And so I'm really happy to be involved in these projects.
Well, you've piqued my curiosity. If you don't mind divulging the information, what's the twist with the duduk?
Yes, as you may know, the duduk is known as something that is a very somber, very kind of soulful instrument that is mostly associated with funerals or
melancholy,
or the movie Gladiator.
Of course.
But what we're doing is we're kind of taking this basic concept of the folk album, and the twist is that we're going to be introducing some pieces by the great Ara Dengchan, a composer who was with Night Ark and also has now created a quartet, and who's really known very much around the world, especially in Greece, Turkey, Israel. Oddly enough, this diasporan Armenian composer is not really well known here in Armenia.
No, he isn't, yeah.
And yet his music is so Anatolian and Armenian at the same time. So what we're doing is we're taking some of his compositions and we're setting them to duduk pieces, and we're making it a little bit more contemporary as far as the sound is concerned, to basically introduce it to those countries which already know Ara's music, and also to introduce it to our country, which I believe where the root is of this music.
Raffi, I was looking at, you've released, or Pomegranate Music has released about 13 albums since 2001. And when I was looking at the musicians and groups that you support, because really you're supporting them by recording them, some of them are, here at CivilNet are favorites, and I'm sure for many people, Bambir, Laveli, Gord Mkhitaryan, Hover Chamber Choir. How did you find these groups? You're from the United States,
Yes.
Haven't lived here, but you've been able to find sort of the heart and soul of the folk rock music scene here in Armenia.
Well, I think it's a two-way street. They found me and I found them, I think, all at once. As with anything in our very small community, in our very small country here, our connections are very powerful. So one person knows this person that knows this person. But if I can kind of rewind to how Pomegranate started, through a mutual friend of mine in 2001, it was my second visit to Armenia. This mutual friend introduced me to this guy named Gord Mkhitaryan. I had no idea he was with this band called Laveli, which at the time was defunct. I saw him play with some Peace Corps volunteers at some bars that no longer exist at this point. And didn't really like his music. I mean,
you didn't?
He went on stage, about 100 of us drinking beers and vodka, and he's up there with this kind of ragtag band playing an electric guitar, and people singing "Down Under" by the Australian band,
right.
Men at Work. So I wasn't impressed. But yet he showed up at a party a couple days later. A bunch of us got together. He brought an acoustic guitar. Started playing some of his own songs, started playing some folk songs, and I said, you know what?
Is this the same guy?
This isn't the same music, and there's a real appeal to to Gore that I found instantly recognizable, that people can relate with. And so that started this really interesting process 14 years later of seeing somebody who may not be kind of popular or famous here, but knowing that it can translate well into the global market and into the diaspora as well. So I think it's just a situation where I have to really rely on my instinct, my knowledge of the world music industry, and ultimately I have to rely on my gut and my taste. So that's how Gore started. From there, he introduced me to Laveli, his band. They got together for the album. Bombir was introduced to me by Gore as well. And then Hover Chamber Choir, once these albums started to kind of get underway and become famous, Hover was introduced to me, and we made those albums as well.
Do you think that Armenian musicians, Armenian music can foray into a global market outside of the diaspora? You know, certainly the diaspora is a market for Armenian musicians, but can Armenian music become an international brand?
I think it already has become an international brand with the popularity of the duduk, which is why I'm going to basically hope to exploit that in the market now. I don't think it's really kind of an issue of whether or not Armenian music is something that can stand up against musics of the world, because I think it can, and it surpasses most of it. I'm a firm believer in not only the melody, but the way that it's delivered is far surpasses, you know, any other type of folk music for the most part. It's always a concept, and it's a process of branding it, marketing it, and doing it in a way that's in the proper channels and circles. For the most part, the music here in Armenia is pretty much digested and consumed by Armenians here in Armenia, in LA, and pretty much around the world, and it ends there because there's no global appeal to it the way that it's produced. Again, what I want to do and what my artists, you know, hunger to do is to basically break out of that, basically that kind of the confines of what we consume music in the diaspora, and bring it to a global stage, and that's what we do.
That's amazing, amazing. And when do you hope to have these albums ready to be released?
Yes, the 3 albums, I hope to have them released all within 12 months. The first one coming out in November, a 21-year-old duduk player originally from Java, with a lot of heart and soul. It's a dynamic album, it's a beautiful album, again featuring Ara Dinkchan's Lullaby for the Sun. The second album is probably the premier duduk player under 30 in this country, a student of Gevorg Tabaryan, from Gavad, and his name is Haratun Chukoyan, and he is probably one of the most dynamic instrumentalists I have ever heard in any country, and that should be coming out sometime in February or March of 2016. And the third one is we're kind of going back to the Gore days a little bit with the singer-songwriter look. An Armenian from Erebuni who lived for 14 years in Barcelona, Spain, who has now returned and who's making his kind of entrance into the Armenian market in a very unique way, singing Spanish and Catalonian songs. But again, I saw a couple clips of him doing Armenian stuff, and we're going to redirect his talents and put him into the Armenian music genre, and his name is Vigen Hovsepian.
Perfect. Well, thank you. This is fabulous what you do.
Thank you.
Bringing Armenian music to Armenians and the world.
Thank
you. Wish you much success, and hope to see you more often in Armenia, and looking forward to the albums.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Maria.
Thank you, Raffi. I'd like to remind our viewers that my guest was Raffi Meneshian, founder of Pomegranate Music, an independent record label. Stay with CivilNet.